Good morning, good morning, good morning. What a wonderful day. The sun's shining, and it's shining in this building as well. I'm so happy to have you all here today for this kickoff in support of Compassionate within our community. My name is Susan Lamb, and I serve as the 4th District Council member, but more important, I'm here as a member and supporter of Compassionate Lexington and our upcoming LexGiveBack Week. That's why we are all here today. I want to thank the folks at Northside Library and Lexington Public Library for allowing us to gather today and celebrate compassion and spread the news about LexGiveBack Week. Also, I want to thank my colleagues, Councilmember James Brown and Councilmember Kathy Ploman, for being here today. And without further ado, I want to recognize Mayor Jim Gray, who is going to present a proclamation for LexGiveBack. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Susan. Well, good morning, everyone. This has been a long day coming, and I know there's a lot to celebrate, and you're going to hear a lot about it. As mayor, I sometimes get the chance to welcome groups and organizations that bring their conferences and meetings to Lexington and tell them a little bit about our city. I mention often that our city has a rich and diverse history, and there's so many interesting things to do here. I mentioned to them that we too are a compassionate city, a caring city, a giving city that welcomes everyone. As Susan will mention shortly, my note says, as Susan has already mentioned. No, not quite yet. It was 1.5 years ago that the City Council passed the resolution adopting Lexington's Charter for Compassion. It was a natural for who we are as a city. And the Week of Compassion that we are announcing today is the natural extension of just that. I, like many of you, look forward to seeing the many volunteers who will step up and serve their neighbors, their friends, and also the total strangers who simply need a little encouragement and help. I want to thank Councilmember Susan Lamb for your dedication to this, Susan. And I want to thank the organizations here today that faithfully serve our community in so many inspired ways. Your work is in large part, such a big part of the motivation for these encouraging acts that we see every day. So now, I'm going to do what mayors do, and that is read a proclamation. All right, and Susan, thank you. All right, and here's what it looks like, you all. LexGiveBack Week. And there's a bunch of whereases here, and because this is so important, sometimes I say I'm not going to read every whereas, but today every whereas gets read. Whereas Lexington contains a broad diversity of people and organizations embodying compassion and the best of human values, and whereas our community members recognize they have a strong volunteer spirit and will work to rally our city around compassionate action projects. And whereas, as part of a campaign for compassionate cities, there will be many opportunities to connect organizations that need resources and volunteers to community members who can assist them. And whereas the city of Lexington encourages the citizens of Lexington to unite in a commitment to compassion and to live compassionately. And whereas Commerce Lexington's 2018 Leadership Lexington class has recognized the importance of the community participating in compassionate acts. Now, therefore, I, Jim Gray, as mayor of Lexington, in celebration of Lexington's Week of Compassion, do hereby declare April 22 through 28 of 2018 as LexGiveBack Week in Lexington. There we go. That's it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm very excited about this. Glad to be a part of it. Thank you.
Let me take this. I'll get this out of your way.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And as we always understand, the mayor has a very busy schedule, and so we appreciate him being here today, but we understand he needs to go on to bigger and better
what
things.
you all are doing is just absolutely fantastic. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Gray, for being here, for supporting this effort. And I want to recognize all of the people that have been involved. We have a group of Compassionate Lexington, and we also have the Leadership Lexington group here. And I know we're all standing, so I would like for everybody to raise their hands that has been involved, because there are a lot of people that are very intricate in what we have developed and where we are today. So I want you to raise your hands. And I want everybody to. So the Compassionate Movement, as the mayor said, has been in the works for some time, and I want to welcome John Patterson to the podium to give you more information about Compassionate Lexington. Welcome, John.
Thank you. The International Campaign for Compassionate Communities began in 2010 as a project of the Global Charter for Compassion. The Compassionate Louisville campaign began in 2011, and Louisville was named the Model Compassionate City in 2012, 2013, and 2014. Louisville has been very supportive of our Lexington efforts, and we look forward to continuing our warm, compassionate relationship with Compassionate Louisville. An organizing group for Compassionate Lexington began meeting in 2015. The charter was brought before our city council in October of last year, and Lexington became the 401st city to formally adopt the Charter for Compassion. That's globally in about 50 countries. In late 2017, the organizing group began partnering with Commerce Lexington and its Leadership Lexington class. Since then, we've worked together to promote LexGiveBack, a week of compassion. So how does a compassionate city like Lexington become even more compassionate? So research suggests compassion truly begins at home, by being compassionate with ourselves. External acts of compassion are the fruits of a well-tended internal garden of compassion, kindness, and friendliness. Compassionate Lexington begins inside each of us. I'll repeat that. Compassionate Lexington begins inside each of us. Self-compassion involves self-kindness, gentleness, warmth, and understanding for ourselves when we suffer, when we are in pain, and when we act imperfectly. Self-compassion involves recognizing our common humanity with all other living beings, that pain and suffering and acting imperfectly are part of being human, and we share that with everyone. Byproducts of self-compassion include tolerance, listening, less judgment, kindness, and forgiveness for ourselves and others. Self-compassion, there are some myths about self-compassion. Self-compassion is not self-pity. Research shows the opposite. Self-compassionate people have better mental health, in part because they have less self-pity. Self-compassion is not a sign of weakness. Rather, research shows that self-compassion is one of our most powerful sources of resilience and coping. Self-compassion does not lead to complacency. Research shows that interventions to increase self-compassion also increase motivation and personal accountability. Self-compassion is not narcissistic, but is associated with increased emotional maturity and emotional intelligence. And finally, self-compassion is not selfish. Self-compassion is not selfish. Self-compassionate people are more likely to be described by friends and family as caring, accepting, forgiving, and non-judgmental. So as the Dalai Lama says, the 14th reincarnation of the Bodhisattva of compassion, as he himself says, if you want other people to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy yourself, practice compassion.
Thank you, John. Then next we want to welcome Corey Wilcoxen, who is representing Commerce Lexington's Leadership Lexington class, and he will talk more about Let's Give Back Week.
Thank you, Susan. So in talking about this project, it's important to understand that the word compassion literally breaks down to mean to suffer with. And so to have compassion for someone is not just to stand off and to have pity or just to write a check or send a card, even though those things are important. It means to enter into someone else's suffering for the purpose of sharing that suffering and sharing that burden so that you can lift them out of that and bring transformation to their lives. And so what we wanted to do with living out this Charter for Compassion was how can we do that as a city? Was so excited to learn that the Compassionate Lexington group was doing the work to have the Charter for Compassion adopted by the City of Lexington this past October. But the next question is, so what? Right? We don't want that just to be a plaque that hangs on a wall, but we don't actually do anything about it. So how can we live that out? So as a part of this year's Leadership Lexington class, one of our projects is to find a way to live this out in concrete ways. And so our team has been working very diligently since last August to bring this to fruition. I would like to take a minute just to recognize them. So if you're on our team, raise your hand, because I want to thank you all for all the help that you have done in making this happen. It's been an amazing team to work with, and I would love to give them a round of applause. So what is Let's Give Back Week? It is a week that is dedicated to people doing acts of compassion for each other. And our goal is to have everyone in Lexington do an act of compassion for another person. The idea being if we do that, we raise the tide of compassion in our city and make it more of a core value of who we are. What does that look like? Well, our team says we don't want to put any boundaries on compassion. So it's whatever it is that enters into someone else's suffering to help transform them. That can be something as simple as bringing in your neighbor's garbage cans because they're sick, or fixing a meal for someone, or doing something in your neighborhood, picking up trash, some way that you do something to better the lives of other people. So individuals can participate by helping people in their immediate radar screen that are right around them. Organizations can participate by volunteering to serve other organizations, and we have some nonprofit organizations here that need volunteers, and we have organizations that are looking for volunteers. So we hope to match them up to help those groups work with each other to bring compassion to them and serve those folks in those ways. On our website, which is LexGiveBack.org, you can sign up as an individual, and by signing up, you're simply saying, yes, I promise to participate in this Let's Give Back Week. You can sign up as an organization that wants to provide volunteers, and we have over 20 organizations that are already signed up to say that, yes, our employees will do acts of compassion during that week. And then you can sign up as an organization that needs volunteers. So if you're an organization, a nonprofit that needs volunteers during that week, sign up on there. You can create an event, and then people who are looking for volunteer opportunities can see that and can contact you to serve. It really can be done in any way possible. We recognize that this isn't something we're going to be able to measure, right? We hope that for every person who registers and signs in, there's 5 more who are doing act of compassion that just didn't take the time to go online and sign in. So we're sort of casting seeds to the wind and praying and promising that they will bloom in their own ways. We've been very excited to work with local organizations like North Lime Coffee and Donuts, Cup of Commonwealth, Chocolate Holler, Deviate Kitchen, Lynn Imaging. All of them have worked with us to help make this project possible, and we're so thankful for that. And we just encourage everyone to participate. It can be something you're already doing. If you're already doing something nice for someone, that counts. You don't have to go do something else, right? But recognize that when you're doing that, you're intentionally being compassionate towards someone else. And the more we can be intentional about being compassionate and entering into other people's suffering, the more our city becomes more compassionate. And the last word I'll say is what really drove this project for me was some of the events that happened last summer and early last fall in Charlottesville, and recognizing any community is susceptible to those sorts of things. If we're not intentional about building community, if we're not intentional about crossing lines that divide us socioeconomically and racially and all the other ways that we're divided, we have to be willing to cross those lines and see each other as human beings that have needs and have the capacity to do nice things for others. We're hoping to just awaken that capacity and encourage people to live that out to make Lexington a more compassionate city. Thank you all for participating.
Thank you, Corey. This is such a wonderful day. Next, I want to welcome to Wanda Owlsley. She's from the Red Cross, and she's going to speak to us about volunteer opportunity with the LexGiveBack Week. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Good morning. Thank you for having us today. I'm Wanda Owlsley, and I'm the Executive Director at the American Red Cross, and I am so excited that we are part of LexGiveBack Week. On April 28th, we have an amazing opportunity for the community to get engaged with. We're doing an event called Sound the Alarm, where we will be installing 1,000 smoke alarms in Lexington and Madison County. And it's so special to be here on the north side at the library because we'll be installing these alarms all on this north side of town. So in conjunction with Councilman Brown, the Lexington Fire Department, and I have all of our Red Cross staff here that's been out canvassing the neighborhoods, on April 28th, we hope to make that happen. We're going to start on the north side with Green Acres and Hollow Creek installing alarms. We're going to go all the way to Winburn, Marlboro, and then we're going to cross over to Joyland. So how you can help? We need volunteers. So we need you to help by signing up as part of LexGiveBack Week to help us on April 28th sound the alarm and install smoke alarms. You can visit LexGiveBack.org. There's information about participating in that event. We at the American Red Cross are right in conjunction with the mission of alleviating human suffering. We think we can do this by decreasing the number of home fires that exist. We think we can do this by saving lives through our Sound the Alarm project and installing smoke alarms. So far, we've saved over 400 lives just by installing smoke alarms. So you can help us alleviate human suffering. You can help us make home safer by installing alarms on April 28th and joining us as part of LexGiveBack Week and participate in Sound the Alarm. So thank you.
Thank you, Tawanda. I think it's just really magical of what this does in our community and what it builds and what dialogue that it opens up to for us to have. I also want to make sure I thank all the organizations that are here that have gone on and set up service projects on LexGiveBack.org. Can't say that enough. LexGiveBack.org. Go to that website. It's amazing. We have a lot of fantastic opportunities for all of our community members to participate during LexGiveBack Week. All acts of compassion, no matter how small or large, no matter who it is or how it's done, it's so important to show and practice the acts of compassion to our fellow neighbors, as we never know when we also will be in need of that. As Martin Luther King stated in his Nobel Prize lecture, ultimately, a great nation is a compassionate nation. Let us work together and make our community a greater compassionate Lexington. We hope to see lots of Lexingtonians acting with compassion between April 22nd and 28th and not stopping there and continuing it. Thank you for all being here today. If there are any questions or if you have any questions about today or the Compassionate Lexington or LexGiveBack, you can talk to Corey or myself or one of our Compassionate Lexington group. And also there is a table set up that if you're interested in being involved in Compassionate Lexington going forward, please make sure that you sign up on the table here because we need to continue carrying this forward. The unique part is that once this week is done and the Leadership Lexington class graduates and moves forward, they're going to actually give their website to Compassionate Lexington so that we can continue these efforts And we will continue making sure that if an organization needs volunteers in the community, that there's a place for you to go, not only to volunteer, but also to get volunteers. So we're going to build this community and make it better. And I just appreciate everybody being here today. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thanks.